Hello and welcome to my channel, everyone. My name is Psamathes. I'm a professional singer specialized in versatile vocals. What this means is that I've had training in different singing techniques from classical to modern, and that I usually sing in many different styles, going from opera to pop, rock, metal, from clean styles to growls. I also sing in many different folk styles. I do a little bit of overtone and throat singing especially, so I have a lot of experience in many different parts of the singing world and of the different sounds that you can make with your voice when making music. Basically, what I want to do here is use my own skills and experience with all these different styles, sit with you and take a look at different artists and analyze how they use their own voices, their own creativity, because that's also a very important part, their own passion and emotions, and create something beautiful, and also see the technical part of it and learn something together and have fun. The first singer that I've chosen for you today is the reason that I'm doing this in the first place. His name is Dimash, and please correct me if I pronounce anything wrong, because in this case especially I've only heard very few things online. I've only heard bits and pieces of this song, but they have really piqued my interest with the variety of styles and the skill that the singer has shown overall. So without further ado, let's go and let's listen to a few bits that I think are particularly valuable for us to learn from.
You crown as far as I can see. You crown underneath my feet. Stranger in a stranger's land. New chance to know who I am.
Okay, let's stop right here. First thing, very epic introduction, folk instrument, big percussions, epic choir. One thing that I want you to always think about is not just the vocals, but also the context where you are hearing the vocals in, and that is the entire song, the music. What is happening here? Big introduction, as I said, very epic, and then everything stops, and very soft, breathy vocals. You can see that regardless of the note that Dimash is singing, there is a little bit of air passing through. This means that there is a lot of support happening, because otherwise, all the air that he's taking would just run away immediately, and he wouldn't have enough to finish his phrases. Another important thing, the emotion he's putting in each word he's saying. Third thing, I'm gonna try to be very quick so that we can take a look at as many different sections as possible. The crescendo, so the dynamics, while he's still singing the same melody over and over, basically, during the verse, you can hear that little by little the soft and breathy voice is opening up, and by the time I paused, he was almost getting to this kind of tenor-ish round voice, but once again very soft, very controlled. So these are all things that each singer in their own way can learn from and implement. Dynamics always in any situation. We've just done like a few seconds of singing, and already you can, regardless of your range, of your style, etc., things that you can write down in your notebook, whatever, and implement in your own experience.
Somewhere in my heart, in ancient times, I
I love this. Chills. Hashtag chills. You can see that was before, and now he's literally dropped an entire octave to do the next part. You can see how much of a difference this can make, whether you do like a higher octave first and a lower octave next, or the opposite. This is always a beautiful technique that you can once again implement in your own song to achieve a beautiful, let's say, surprise effect. And he does it beautifully because it's almost like I think this will happen often in this video. It's almost like listening to a completely different singer, not just because he changed the octave, but also because he's using the, once again, roundness inside of the soft palate to change the color of his voice. So if before he was using a very soft and breathy voice, now he's not just singing lower, he's also singing very much rounder. So and before we had this maybe even the larynx was a little bit higher before, and now we, even on the same octave, we can achieve the same effect without going much lower. Of course, in my voice it's a bit different, but just to show you what changing the roundness inside your palate can do, and if you want to make a more ominous effect, a darker effect, depending on the moment of the song. In this case, his ability to reach lower notes as well adds to the end result. So this is not, of course, it's a bit too low for me. I don't think I can go lower than this, but just to show you, I'm just using the, like, at this point in my range, of course I cannot do much, but I'm just using the resonance inside my mouth to kind of mimic what he's doing. I think we're a little bit lower, around B2 or something. That is usually the lowest I can do. What happens here is that when he goes back to the higher octave, it's almost like he's doing a duet with himself, and the stylistic ornaments he uses are also different, so it's very beautiful. When he's doing the lower and deeper voice effect, as I said, he can do it much lower, but you can try to achieve this with the resonance inside of your mouth, slightly lower larynx, only in those moments, not always, because otherwise it's very tiring for your voice. What happens is that, by contrast, when he goes back to the normal voice, he can make it sound even more different by adding ornaments like this little, you know, groups of notes. I'm not doing them exactly the same, but you get what I mean, right? And it makes the two voices sound even more in contrast with each other. And now we have, let's say, our third voice, which is the slightly classical voice. Once again, we're in the same range as the very first voice we've heard. You can check it out for yourself. I'm not gonna do the, oh, it's here, and like push all the keys on the piano, more or less the same range as the very first style he was doing at the beginning. But again, using the resonance and the soft palette lift effect, let's say, he is achieving a third and even different effect than the first two we've heard so far. And it's basically what you would hear from a classical singer doing a tenor part, maybe. So just to give you a very simple recap of what we first apart. And then we've done the lower voice. This was the very low voice. Now we're doing the, let's say, classical voice. As you can see, I'm just doing the same 3 notes, like by ear from the song. I haven't studied it, just with a little bit of larynx position and using the different resonances that we have inside of our mouth. We have already achieved 3 basically different singing styles that we can just drop little hints of in our performances. At this point, I might have lost count, but I think we have 2 more voices, except for this last one that I paused at. The others were at least 3 of them more or less in the same range, but all 3 sounding wildly different from each other. I will also add that I'm not surprised that he has such a wide range. Of course, it's exceptional. I'm not doubting that at all. What I mean is that when I first started hearing that he had such a great control over all of the different colors, vocal colors he can make with his own voice, the different ornaments he can use, etc. The consequence of his ability to reach a fairly wide range is almost automatic in a way, because you have such a deep knowledge of your own voice, of all the different things you can do with it. This is a very, very well trained voice. It's a very well kept voice.
New crown far as I can see.
We know this one already. It's just very exceptional to go all the way down there from all the way up there. Let's take a moment. There's so much to say that I would probably need like 15 videos just to talk about this piece. This is, I think, the very first section of the song that I saw and that made me go like, okay, I have to talk about this guy at some point. We start off with what is probably his most natural voice, without any higher, lower larynx, resonance, blah, blah, blah. The one that also has those breaks that make it sound more folk-like. This is a very smooth chest voice with these breaks. So he's not going like too much into it, and this is very strategically thought about. You could be thinking about doing this vocal style stronger. However, he's doing like a bunch of other things after that are also technically challenging, and if he already started doing this vocal style like at the maximum of, let's say, this is the vocal intensity bar, and this is the first vocal style he's doing, and he already starts doing it at the top. Then the other 2 higher vocal styles he does, where does he go? He's already at the top of the bar, so he's only gonna build up tension and then be like, okay, I don't know where to go anymore. This is a very good choice of a very experienced singer who, once again, knows his voice very well. After the chest voice, folky-ish solo with the little breaks between notes, there is a similar folk style inspired part of the solo. In this case, we are switching from full chest voice to mixed voice. I think this is a great choice because it helps the transition between the first part of the the solo and the last part of the solo in a gentle way, let's say. Let's talk about it this way. Mixed voice is when you're mixing chest voice and head voice, but this mix is not always like 50-50, you know. In this case, the head voice is a little bit predominant over chest voice, and also in order to help Dimash find the position for what comes next, because a lot of singing is preparation. Even during a performance, preparation is not just warming up, starting the song, etc. There is also a part of nasality. This is a big part of this kind of vocal style. Often hear it in a bit of a different way in Eastern European choirs, but in a lot of different folk vocal cultures and tradition. Voice is coming from slightly like this part behind his teeth, and then also like here from behind his nose, and then it's being pushed out from here. So rather than pushing out his voice normally from the middle of his mouth as you would or as he has done, let's say so far, maybe in the first part of the solo, he's now slightly changing the point of resonance to achieve this different sound, even though in terms of range it's not changing that much. It's very also smart to choose vowels. The E, A are also very helpful to achieve this more nasal sound, and he ends with an O because it is a rounder vowel, and it's more helpful for a fully and more classical head voice. And now he goes to the full head voice and to the ethereal head voice part of the solo. You can hear that even though he has changed the voice color and the voice setup, because it's full head voice, it's not that much mix anymore. He ended with the O, and now he's coming back with the round O vowel. So I'm just taking a look, and the mixed voice part of the solo ended in C5, and now he's raising up another octave, so he's at C6. So he's basically ending like and then whatever it goes next. I will say that this is not a whistle voice, especially the higher note, because of the brilliance and resonance you hear. Yeah, this is also because, you know, you would have to go once again, change your entire vocal setup and do one more different thing. In this case, he's still more or less doing the same thing. Maybe there's like a slight passaggio at that point, and he has to make some adjustments to go from the high notes to the super high notes. So what I really love here is something that I've often studied as well when doing my own classical pieces practice. In classical music, what happens is you often have the solos. The singer is left with almost no music at all, sometimes no music at all, and she is all alone with her own thoughts and panic and the high notes. And the most important thing that was always taught to me, and that I think was also taught to Dimash, is or Dimash, once again correct me, is to rely and to not ignore the previous notes that come before the very high and difficult note. The important thing here is to rely for guidance on that previous note and to focus on doing that previous note as well as you can, as supported, as nice sounding as you can, so that it can carry basically the following higher notes on its shoulders to perfection as well. And you can notice this because he takes a little bit more time on the C6 than than on the F6. This is also because, of course, any one of us would prefer to stay on an F6 as little as possible. But I think it's a good example of, you know, taking your time to sit on the note comfortably, and then once you're there and you're like, okay, I'm ready, and then you go and take the leap on the next note on a straight line without thinking, okay, I need to go even higher, and you're just following in the same path that you already prepared with the previous note that you've sang so well before. So this is, I think, a great example of how to prepare for a high note of any kind.
Stranger in a stranger's land, you chance to know who I am. We will have this strain to begin.
Okay, I love that he was like, okay, we're done with the high notes for now, let me go back to something lower and more comfortable and rest for a bit. This is like awesome once again in terms of overall effect in the song, but it's also very helpful in terms of vocal rest, because he's done like all of those things, the chest voice, the mixed voice with a nasal thing, the head voice, the super head voice, and then it's like, okay, stop, now let's go back down low like this, very soft, very like just in front of the lips, and just a little but not too much breathy. You can I'm just speaking, but you can see the difference in the effect I'm doing, just very much slightly rounder but not too much, just to let everything rest. And it would also be like tiring for him physically and vocally, and tiring for us to listen to after a while if everything is always at the maximum. Sometimes the magic of a performance is also in this softer and darker moments. What is tiring is not necessarily the notes themselves, but also all the different changes he's doing. This happens to me, for example, when I'm doing a session as a recording musician for a project. I might find myself tired, not fatigued in my voice, but tired like I've done a good workout, because I've changed from very different vocal styles. Another style that, of course, I would expect him to be able to use from what we've seen so far. It's like he already has all the ingredients to be able to do whatever he wants. In this case, it's once again a type of mixed voice. You might be hearing about it as falsetto, maybe in the English American accent. What it is, it's basically once again a way to touch upon some higher notes, especially in genres like rock or metal, using the nasality of your voice, and this mixed voice once again more geared towards a head voice setup, but with a bit of chestiness. You're adding a bit of chestiness and a bit of nasality, and then the way your own individual voice sounds. Sometimes people in classical music also talk about falsetto, but I like to call this falsetto. This is I'm exaggerating it, but because in my case here I would stay in a powerful mix. What I love about him is that everything he does, he stays very smooth. It's probably a defining characteristic of his overall voice. He is able to stay smooth in all the styles he does, and I love this because it's very rare to hear. Once again, it's just individual ways to choose the way you sing. It doesn't mean one is better and one is not. It's why we might enjoy one singer or the other. I love how it sounds like he's just flowing from one style to the other. You can see basically this straight line going from each style and each section of the song to the other. Very important thing here, the ending of the note. It's impressive how much he keeps it, and the quality of the long note throughout, but it's also very important how you close a note, because it gives expression to the note itself. So in this case he wants to close it in this very epic and dramatic way. The emphasis is on the N part. You can see it's very emphasized. He could have just ended it without doing anything and it would have been like awesome, like hands in my air from anything he's done in the past whatever 5 minutes of performance. But these are the little details that make the difference between technical performance and an artistic performance. He has the technique to be able to do the long notes, but then the artistic brilliance to also add the expression into the long note. He's done by adding the ending in the consonant especially, which is very difficult to do generally, and here of course, I mean, you know. And once again, I think at some point he was doing some rounder notes, which is very beautiful to see that kind of flow between the falsetto and some more classical notes. It's something I enjoy a lot, but also in this last note you can hear the falsetto very much clearly. And it's almost like even his voice is shutting down a lot along with all of the instruments. In terms of singing technique, I had to be very brief about everything. I couldn't even spend like a few words about his stage presence, which was amazing. He's done actually very little, just a few very, once again, smooth and controlled movements, big arm movements. When you're doing such a big and important vocal performance, that's all you actually really need. Adding a little bit of movement, it also helps him to release the tension that can build up in a singer's body when doing all of these different things. If you have any other songs about this singer or any other singers that you would like me to talk about and look at, whether it's this kind of style and genre or any other different style, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think about this one. If there's any questions you have that we can talk about more specifically, I can do some other more specific videos about those. Maybe take some other songs that can help us talk about some other techniques, about specialists in those techniques. Thank you for staying up until this moment, and we'll see each other in another video. And bye bye.